Hey folks, Ted from Nerd Immersion here. A quick, a news update video. I was recently, my good friend Jordan, who you know from Rod of Seven Parts, as well as from his own YouTube channel, brought to my attention this new board game that's coming out in October called D&D Adventure Begins. This is my first time hearing about it, so I thought I would do a video on it to bring it to all of your attention because of the fact that I don't know where this thing was announced. Like, it seems to have poor marketing in my opinion because, like, usually I'm pretty hip on what's going on in the D&D world as far as news goes. I'm not, saying that I'm up to date on everything, but for the most part, people do seem to come to the channel for regular news updates. So this one, totally under the radar. So let's go over to the D&D website and take a look. So it's called D&D Adventure Begins, a cooperative board game. Step into an exciting world of D&D with Dungeons & Dragons Adventure Begins board game. Choose your characters, work together along journey through lands of Neverwinter, facing fantastic obstacles, monsters, and to defeat the boss monster terrorizing the realm. Quick entry to Dungeons & Dragons, step into the exciting world of D&D with this board game designed for 2 to 4 players ages 10 and up. As a fun fact, D&D, I think D&D 5, I don't know if all D&D, I believe is technically targeted at 13 and up, so this is giving you a little bit earlier access, I guess. I mean, if you play by those rules at all. A cooperative fantasy game. This fantasy board game is a portal to the monsters, magic, and heroes of D&D. Players work together as they journey through the lands of Neverwinter. Players can choose and customize their heroes, battle iconic D&D monsters, and experience a new adventure every time. So step forward, brave heroes, adventure awaits. Choose a journey for your party. Choose a journey and which boss monster your parties will fight. Felbris the Beholder, Orn the Fire Giant, Deathsleep the Green Dragon, and the Kraken. No name for the Kraken, I guess. D&D miniature figures. The game includes 4 plastic minifigures that correspond with the heroes featured in the gameplay. So we can watch the video. We'll do that together. You can see it's right now pre-orderable on Hasbro Pulse, as well as Amazon, Walmart, GameStop, Entertainment Earth, and Big Bad Toy Store. Some of these I've never even heard of. Looks like it's going to retail for $24.99, and it is October 1st, 2020 release date. From what I can tell without actually watching it, it's a board game, therefore it is DM-less. So if it is 4 players, it will be 4 people playing the 4 heroes, no dungeon master required. So if we look at the art, just from what we can see here, it has a box set feel. The art makes me think of like a classic box set. We can see these seem to be the character sheets. They kind of look like they have a little plastic stand. The 4 character sheets seem to be color-coded. You can see 4 color-coded minis, as well as 4 color-coded D20s. So it looks like it's a human wizard, a dwarven fighter, maybe an elf ranger, and whatever the red one is. I think it's maybe a dragonborn paladin. I don't know. We'll see. You can see the kind of boss cards here. It looks like there's a little map, maybe a little board game map with some cards. So my assumption is, by looking at this, without actually watching the trailer, and I haven't watched it yet, so we'll watch it here together, that it is basically just a means to try and get kids into D&D. Or, maybe this is a way you could introduce your significant other, your parent, your child, your coworker, someone that doesn't really have, has maybe a passing knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons or what it is, but you don't think they want to step right into the role-playing game, and you just want to kind of give them an intro. So I'm going to put on my headphones, and I'll make sure that you guys can actually hear this, and we'll watch the thing together here.
Welcome to the instructional video for Dungeons & Dragons Adventure Begins, a cooperative fantasy board game. Let's get started. Welcome to the city of Neverwinter. In Adventure Begins, your party of heroes will choose to battle and defeat one of 4 terrible boss monsters who are threatening the land. Your options are the Kraken, the Beholder Felbris, the Fire Giant, Orn, or the Green Dragon, Deathsleep. For this tutorial, we'll use Deathsleep as our chosen boss. First, find the dungeon board that matches the icon on the front of your chosen boss monster. Deathsleep lives in Neverwinter Wood, so that's the board he'll sit on. Next, connect the other 3 dungeon boards in random order. Each boss has 3 gatekeeper cards that act as obstacles at certain points in your journey. Find the gatekeeper cards that are associated with your boss. Place the cards in numerical order, with illustration face up, on the table next to the gatekeeper spaces of each board. Adventure Begins features 4 heroes you can choose from: an elf bard, a dwarf fighter, a dragonborn rogue, or a human sorcerer. Each hero has 5 color map.
Hold on. That is an interesting choice of of characters. A dragonborn rogue, yet they give him a sword and a shield, and rogues don't get shield proficiency, and it needs to be a finesse weapon to be able to get sneak attack. So that's kind of interesting. I do like that the elf bard is using a bow. I like that a lot. And then the human wizard and the dwarf fighter kind of makes sense. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything on that.
From an elf bard,
Okay,
a dwarf fighter,
makes sense.
a dragonborn rogue,
Still weird.
or a human sorcerer.
Oh,
Each
it's a
hero
sorcerer.
has 5 color
Not
matched
a rogue.
tiles.
Or
Take
not a
all of
wizard.
your chosen heroes' tiles, their minifigure, hero die, a health tracker, and reference card. First, choose what your hero
Sorry, I should
looks
probably
like.
show this to you guys because I forgot. Let's
Each
change it back.
hero has 5 color
Let's try that
matched
again.
tiles.
Sorry, folks.
Take all of your chosen heroes' tiles, their minifigure, hero die, a health tracker, and reference card. First, choose what your hero looks like. Next,
2 options.
choose a personality you like. Every character has 4 to choose from. The top half of this tile describes the personality you choose. The bottom half describes the special ability you get. These abilities are an extra power you can use during combat. to
Interesting
gain an
that the
advantage,
sorcerer other one
or to
is
help
the
out a
healer.
friend. You can only use your ability once per dungeon board, so choose wisely. Finally, choose one of your 2 combat tiles. These are the attacks you can use when fighting monsters. For more information about the different kinds of attacks, see the instruction booklet. Remember to begin on level 1 of your combat tile. Later in the game, you'll have a chance to use gold to level up your character. When you do, you'll flip your combat tile over to level 2 and your attacks will be more powerful. Once you've chosen all your tiles, slot them into the health tracker and set your HP to 10. The last thing to do is choose a backpack. Backpacks are filled with equipment that'll help you solve problems while you play. Each hero should only take 1. Look for the backpack icon to know when to use it. Okay, your path stretches before you. Your heroes are fully equipped, and your minifigures are ready to go on the first space.
Okay, at least it doesn't have a
It's
shield
time
in this
for the
the
adventure to
minifigure.
begin. Each board has a deck of adventure cards that go with it. For this example, the first board is Mount Hotnow, so you would load the Mount Hotnow adventure cards into the deck holder. Put the damage tracker and 10-sided Dungeon Master die into the well on top, too. On every
Okay.
turn, including gatekeeper spaces, the DM draws an adventure card and reads it to the group. Let's back up. What's a DM?
Oh boy.
In Dungeons & Dragons, one person acts as the Dungeon Master, who is the storyteller, guiding players through the game. But in Adventure Begins, everyone gets a chance to be the DM by taking turns reading the cards and rolling the DM die when the card calls for it, or when the group is battling a monster.
Okay.
For now, all you need to know is that the oldest player is the first DM, so
Interesting.
they draw the first adventure card of the game. After that, pass the deck holder clockwise to keep track of who is the DM that turn. Okay, back to gameplay. There are 2 types of adventure cards, scenarios and monsters. Let's talk about scenarios first. Most cards are broken into 3 sections. The top is the story, and it sets the scene for where your party is and what challenge might be facing you. The DM always reads this aloud to the group. Next is the call to action. What decision does your group need to make? What situation do you need to resolve? The DM reads this out loud, and then the
Dance
group
the
acts
dance of their
based on the
people, huh?
card's instructions. These actions can be things like making a choice, coming up with a plan, or rolling your dice. The last section is the outcome, or how the card will affect the players. The DM does not read this or execute its instructions until the group has completed the call to action for that card. DMs participate in every card unless stated otherwise. Whenever a card calls for the DM to roll, they should use the 10-sided DM die. As a side note, adventure cards should be placed in the deck holder like this, so the group can see the artwork, but only the DM can read the card. Let's take a closer look at the boards. Every hero moves forward every turn. You can choose to move to the next core space or to a monster space. Any players who move to a monster space will fight a monster there and then rejoin their party on the next core space. We'll cover combat in a couple minutes. At the beginning of a turn, the DM draws the top adventure card from the deck holder. If it's a monster space, they locate whatever the next monster card is and draw that. When players are on a gatekeeper space, the DM picks up the card beside that space and reads it aloud. After you've completed the gatekeeper card at the end of a board, all players move to the first space on the next board, and the DM swaps in the new adventure deck.
Okay.
Monster
This is
attacks
very
can happen
complicated.
at any time, but you always battle them the same way. First, prepare for combat. The DM uses the damage tracker to set the monster to full health. All players engaging in combat, including the DM if they are on the same space, must roll their 20-sided dice to see who goes first. Every hero has several attacks they can use in combat. Basic attacks like weapons, spells, and moves. Creative attacks that let you describe how you want to fight the monster. And a special skill that can only be used once per dungeon board. Every time a hero attacks a monster, they must first declare out loud which attack they plan to use, then roll their 20-sided die. If you rolled the number listed for your chosen attack or higher, you've succeeded. Some attacks have different outcomes for a range of dice rolls. Follow your attack's specific instructions. If an attack is successful, the DM tracks how much damage it inflicted on the monster. Whenever a hero attacks a monster, it immediately attacks them back. The DM, when rolling as the monster and not their hero, uses the 10-sided DM die.
To be honest, I'm very bored right now watching this video.
Monsters also have multiple attacks, but they do not have to declare them before rolling. The DM's die roll determines what attack the monster will use and how much damage the attack causes. When players take damage, they move their health trackers down according to the monster's attack. For more information about losing and regaining health, check out the instruction booklet. After the first hero has attacked and been attacked by the monster, combat passes clockwise to the next hero, and they continue until the monster is defeated. All players involved in combat receive a reward, and whichever player reduced the monster's HP to 0 gets to describe their kill. The more wildly outlandish...
Oh, so it's a how do you want to do this? They built that into the game. Interesting.
Throughout the game, you'll get items by purchasing them, or as loot when you beat a monster. See the instruction booklet for more info about that. Items are used in combat. There are just a few things to keep in mind. They do cool things like give you extra health, or do
Liar,
extra
liar,
damage
pants
to a
on
monster,
fire. I like
or
it.
shield you from damage when you're attacked. But you can only use them one at a time. You must successfully attack a monster before you can add an item card, unless it's a shield. You can use shields to defend against any monster attack. Once you've used an item card, flip it over
how
until
long is
you've
this
reached
video?
the next board.
Oh, thank God.
It's
A minute
time,
left.
and it needs to rest up for the next fight. Alright, heroes. Once you've completed all the dungeon boards, defeated all the gatekeepers, and made it to the end of the last board, it's time to fight the boss. First, clip the damage tracker on the boss monster at full health. Whoever the DM is for this turn will play as both the boss and their hero. Combat works exactly the same way as with regular monsters, but now it's way, way harder. When the boss reaches 0 health, the hero who dealt the final blow describes their kill. And then, the DM reads the winning story on the back of the boss monster. You've won the day and saved the realm. For the complete rules, please see the instruction booklet included with the game. Best of luck, on your adventures.
All right. So that was interesting. One, video was boring as hell. I was like, I got that they were trying to, like, I don't know. It was long and drawn out, and I don't know if it's just the way that guy described it, but that seemed really complicated. And we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. It's not a simple game in the grand scheme of games. It's an RPG. There are many facets. There are many die rolls. There's character creation, monsters, blah, 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 blah. This is a board game designed for 10-year-olds. I feel like I'd rather maybe it's just me because I've played D&D, but like, I'd rather just go play Dungeons and Dragons than play this board game that's supposed to introduce me to Dungeons and Dragons. I encountered something very similar with the Dragonfire deck building game. So if you don't know, a couple years back, there was this board game or a deck building card game called Dragonfire, which is based around Dungeons and Dragons. And it had a similar concept, right? It's a deck builder, so you get cards and you go through scenarios. But you had a character sheet with like stickers, and like as you went through like adventures in a campaign, you put like a sticker on your character sheet to level up your character, and you had different racial abilities and backgrounds, and you could get expansions to add new races and new classes, and you could, go through this whole campaign. And I played it once with like the people who made it at a convention, and then I tried to play it again like 2 years later, and it was so complicated from reading the rule book that we just went and played D&D instead because that was easier. And like, the benefit of this board game and that card game is there is no DM, so everybody gets to play. And this one, there is a DM, but it rotates. It just seems kind of complicated to me. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it, but like, you saw they showed Otto's Irresistible Dance. Like, I guess you also have to potentially know the group you're with, because like, that thing was everybody has to get up and dance the dance of their people except for the dungeon master, and then the DM judges your dances based on what they thought that stone that cast Otto's Irresistible Dance is. That's not, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but that's definitely not for everybody. I mean, it is what it is. You got to know who you're playing with, but like, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather play D&D. Then again, if my options were no Dungeons and Dragons at all or this board game, as a 10-year-old, I would have jumped on the opportunity to play this board game. Like, that would have been something that I would have liked to do. So I guess I have to think about it in that vein. Again, maybe the video was just kind of long. It was a 10-minute video, and I mean, I'm already making an 18-minute video as we're sitting here. But I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Have you heard of this Adventure Begins board game? Is me telling you the first time you're hearing of it? And what are your thoughts on it based on watching the trailer along with me and the general concept of this board game? Are you excited about it? Do you think you'll be picking it up and playing it? Do you think it'll be a good thing to bring new players into the world of Dungeons and Dragons? I don't know. It is interesting to me that they included like the how do you want to do this as a mechanic for the game, which I'm wondering if that'll end up being a mechanic like in whatever 5.5 or 6th edition we get in a few years from now. I mean, or later this year, if you believe everybody in all the comments, they think 5.5 is coming at the end of 2020. Maybe it is, but I don't know. But I do think whatever the next edition will be the 50th anniversary of D&D in 4 years from now. But anyway, let me know. Realistically, I will probably buy this board game. I will probably try to sit down with a group of people in person when we're allowed to do that again and play through the game and like maybe even live stream playing it. I don't know how interesting that will be based on that video. It might not be. But play through it and see how it is and then like make a legitimate review on it. Let me know what your thoughts are if you'd be interested in seeing something like that. And again, your general thoughts on the game as it stands. Thank you again to my patrons on Patreon for continuing to support the channel. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed to the channel. We are eking closer to 50,000 every day, which I will be doing a giveaway for that. Also, be sure to stay tuned to the channel and keep logged into the social medias and things, I'll be having a physical book, Mythic Odysseys of Theros giveaway, as well as some very interesting other products that I'll be doing a review on soon as a giveaway for those. And then again, a 50K giveaway once I hit it. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.